In this guitar licks lesson video, I'm going to show you how to make any guitar lick sound better. How? I'll show you a little bit later. Plus, this guitar lesson is also going to show you how to create your own cool licks by transforming any ordinary lick into a great one. Hi, I'm Tom Hess, and today we're going to go through the step-by-step process of taking a very simple and frankly boring guitar lick and make lots of new cool variations and cool licks from it. I'll show you every single step that I use to do this so that you can do it too. This will immediately help you to improve your guitar licks, your soloing, your improvisations, and lead guitar playing. The best part is, it's fun. When I was learning to play guitar, I learned lots of cool licks, but the problem was they often didn't fit the song I was trying to put those licks in. And what did seem to fit the song sometimes kind of seemed lame to me at the time. So I thought, how can I get both? How can I learn cool licks and have them fit the song that I'm playing? Well, I took lead guitar lessons at the time, and that helped a lot, but something was still missing. I later discovered that learning to refine guitar licks, not learning new ones, was the missing piece to improving my soloing, improvisation, and lead guitar playing. I'm going to show you exactly how to do this yourself step by step. Well, I've taught this stuff to thousands of students online from around the world. Here's what we're going to cover in this guitar licks video. First, I'll show you what I call lick milking. This is where you learn to transform any guitar lick into a series of cool licks. I do this almost every time I want to create new guitar licks. I'll then show you how to refine your guitar licks further so that they continuously get better with each new version you create. Next up, I'll show you different ways to apply vibrato to licks that make them sound really cool. Next, I'll show you what I call double bends. These are not double stop guitar licks, nor bending two strings at once. Double bends are much cooler, and I'll show you how to play them. Our next lead guitar lick idea is what I call a super slide. It's a simple but uncommon way to add an extreme sound into any guitar lick that you create. Then we have a little hack to get more out of any lick that you play. The secret is called double picked octave phrases. Last up, we have the arpeggio rip. This is one of my favorite ways to improve the sound of your guitar playing and create better guitar playing licks. So let's get started. Most of the guitar licks that I'll show you are made to sound great by refining one or more of the following musical elements: note choice, phrasing, rhythm, and ornamentation. All right, let's take a look at example number one. This is the basic, simple, boring lick that we're going to start with. We're going to begin with this, and then from this we're going to refine it and make it better and better and better until we come up with some really cool stuff towards the end. And I'll show you how this works, and I'll go through it step by step. So first, example one. Now again, I know that lick is pretty boring. Don't worry, it's going to get really cool. Just hang with me. Now let's take a look at example two and see how we can make the original sound better. So there's a couple things I want you to notice right away. The first is how vibrato is being used in measures 2 and in measures 4. Earlier in example 1, for those measures, the vibrato was thin. Not very wide. I wasn't bending the string wide at all. Now what we're going to do is bend the string wider. Right here. So it's a much wider vibrato. So that already starting to give this beginning of this lick a little bit more life. And then we've got a half step bend here in measure 3. Bend up a half step, release it. And then we got a wider vibrato here on the last note. So altogether, example 2 is this. So it's still not the greatest lick in the world or anything like that, but it's a lot better than where we started. So the way that we're applying vibrato and how we're adding in the bend in measure 3, and the slow release here, vibrato at the end, makes this sound better. So just by focusing on those two things, we're able to refine and improve the lick. Now let's take a look at example number 3. The only difference between example 2 and 3 is the very first measure. And what is going on here that's pretty special is something that I call a double bend. A double bend is where you take a note, you bend it up, you let it ring out, and then you bend it up again from that point. So notice that the double bend is not this, it's not two bends, okay? It's not this, and then the same thing again. It's not, that's just two bends. A double bend is where you do this, and then you bend it up even higher. Okay, so I'm on D, the 15th fret of the second string. I bend up a full step, and then bend up even more, all the way to F sharp. So it's 2 steps. So bending from here to here to here. So that's the whole example. Let me play it for you one more time. Example number 3. Pretty cool sound. That double bend is really dramatic. And when you add in the vibrato that occurs on measures 2 and 4, that adds to the whole drama of the whole thing. So now the lick is getting even more interesting. It's still simple. It's still really just 4, maybe 5 notes here, but that's it. It's pretty simple, but it's getting better. We're refining it. We're making it better. Now let's take a look at example 4. And what we're going to do here is we've still got our double bend in measure 1, but now we're going to extend that bend over the bar line. So instead of playing the 15th fret in measure 2 like we normally do on beat 1, we're going to let the bent note from measure 1 extend further into measure 2. And then we play the 15th fret, the D notes, on beat 2 of measure 2. And then what we have in measure 3, we still have our half step bend on the 12th fret, but instead of holding it here a half step and then eventually releasing it down, we're going to do this. So we're bending up a half step, we're now going to release the bend halfway down, so technically it's now a quarter step bend. As a half step, go down halfway to there, and then back up a half step. So half step, quarter, half, and then we'll eventually release it all the way down. So measure 3 again sounds like this. Now measure 4 is the same as the other measure 4s of the other examples. It's still the same note, B. The difference is, instead of playing it on the B string of the 12th fret, we're now going to slide into it and play it on the 3rd string. Why do it there? Because the slide makes it sound more interesting, a little bit more dramatic, and the tone of the 3rd string is thicker than it is on the 2nd string. There's 2nd string. There's a 3rd string. A little bit thicker sound, a little bit thicker tone. So that's what we're doing here. So the whole example number 4 is double bend. We're holding that out into measure 2 before we release down to the 15th fret. Wide vibrato here. And then hit the heavy vibrato on measure 4. So don't forget that in measure 3, we got the half step coming down a quarter, back up to half, and then we go into measure 4. Very cool sound. The lick is getting yet better. All right, let's take a look at example number 5. Now what we have here are some significant changes in all 4 measures. We'll take it measure by measure. So when measure number 1, what we have here is a normal full step bend from the second string, 15th fret, this is D. We're going to bend it up to sound like E. So we're going to go. And then with the third finger of our left hand, we're going to grab the first string, 15th fret, while this note is still being bent. So it's not this. We're not doing that. We want to hear both strings together. So they're both ringing out. And then hit the second string again, and then release the bend. So that's measure 1. Now let's talk about measure 2. The concept that we're using here is something what I call a super slide. A super slide is any slide that you do between two notes where the two notes are at least 1 octave apart. And that's what we have here. We have D, 15th fret of the second string. And we're going to slide down to the D an octave lower, 3rd fret of the second string. And then we're going to come right back up to the 15th fret of the same string. So back up to D. So we've got 3 D notes. This one, that one, and that one. So that's a super slide going down. Now you can slide down and up. I'm just choosing to slide mainly down. And I'm using the same finger, but I'm really just shifting my finger quickly. I'm not really sliding, but you can do the super slide back up if you prefer that sound. So that's measure 2. Now let's talk about measure number 3. And what we're going to do here is we're going to start off on the 3rd string, 17th fret with the first finger. Give it some vibrato. And now we're going to do a double picked octave lick here. So it's the 17th fret, this is C. We're going to go up an octave, 20th fret of the first string, which is also C. Pick that twice, and then come back down to the 3rd string and hit the C note twice again. So we have, and that's going to lead us right into measure 4. And that 16th fret is really the end of measure 3. So let's try all of measure 3, and then I'll play just the first note of measure 4. Okay? And again, that sounds like this. One more time. So the nice, cool octave phrase there. All right, so now let's take a look at measure number 4. I've already introduced to you the first note of measure 4 because it's really the end of measure 3, right? Okay, so now we're here on the 16th fret of string 3. This is the B note. And we're going to do now what I referred to earlier as an arpeggio rip. All we're going to do is play a really small, short little arpeggio. We're going to play it pretty fast. Okay, so here we're playing an E minor arpeggio, starting on the B note. But it's pretty quick because we've got 16th note triplets here. Okay, so putting measures 3 and 4 together will sound like this. Really, really cool sound. All right, so now let's hear example 5 in its entirety without a lot of talking. Pretty cool sound. So now you hear we have moved very far from our first example, but we have continued to refine the original lick by adding in different techniques, dealing with note choices, doing the ornaments differently, some of these other concepts like double bends, super slides, double picked octave phrases, the arpeggio rip. All of those things can be used either in the same lick or throughout different ones, but there's easy ways to make any simple, ordinary lick sound pretty cool, not simple anymore, not ordinary, and just sounds great. So now let's talk about how to practice this stuff. Here's what I'm going to suggest for you to do. First, Start with an ultra simple lick. And this is the part where I think a lot of students that I've taught tend to get this wrong. They want to start with licks that already sound interesting or maybe a little complicated or a little advanced. That's a mistake in my opinion. Start with something really basic, really simple. It's easier to vary a simple lick than it is to make variations on a more complex one with lots of notes. So if there is a complex lick that you want to try this stuff with, great. Write the lick out on paper, tablature is okay, and erase some of the notes so that your advanced or complex lick is stripped down to just its main notes, its fundamental notes. So remove some of the notes, then refine what's left from the stripped down version. This is a better way to practice this. You'll be able to learn how to refine licks faster and make your licks sound better if you start with something simple and then build up from there. And then eventually, as this becomes very comfortable for you and you can do it very easily, then you can start doing this with advanced licks. But for now, believe me on this, it will be better for you unless you're an extremely advanced player with great phrasing already. If you're one of those people, then great, and you can start with advanced licks right now. But if you're not, start with something simple. So which of these ideas was most interesting or useful to you? I really want to know, which are you going to try first? Is it going to be the super slides, the double picked octave phrases? Is it going to be the double bends? Is it going to be something else? What is it that you're going to do first? What was the most useful to you? Let me know by leaving a comment below. And if you like this video, subscribe to this YouTube channel and like this video. Also, if you want to learn how to make any lick you know sound even better, I'll show you how in my new free ebook titled The Secret to Adding Fire and Emotion to Any Guitar Lick. It's free, guys. Click on the link below to download your copy and make every lick that you know sound even better.